It's hard to believe that I have had my Jeep TJ now for over a year. I've been having an absolute blast driving this around on the road and off the road, checking out trails, looking for historic sites, abandoned mines, petroglyphs, you name it. Me and this Jeep have probably done it. Well, maybe not. But I wanted to take some time to talk about my Jeep experience now that I finally have one. Anybody that's watched the channel for a little while knows that I've been looking for a Jeep for a very long time. And when we made Arizona our home base, I just thought this was the perfect time to buy a Jeep, because from our home base in a 30-mile radius, we have access to 6 off-road trails. Spoiler alert here, guys. The Jeep has been fantastic. What a great purchase. If you've been thinking about buying yourself a Jeep and it's always been in the back of your mind, you're like, oh, it looks like a fun vehicle, I think I would really enjoy it, hesitate no more, go out and buy one. Now, which one? That's the big question. And I'm here today to talk about this particular era of Jeep, which is a Jeep TJ. Jeep TJs were built between 1997 and 2006. Mine happens to be a 2001. Why did I go with the TJ and not an older Jeep or a newer Jeep? I went with an older Jeep, not the oldest, but I did go with an older Jeep because these Jeeps have something that the newer Jeeps will never have. And we'll start with that because that's probably going to be the tagline in the video. So we'll jump right into that. And that is size. The TJ is shorter, narrower, and lighter than all the newer Jeeps that came after it. So that's including the JL and the JK. In fact, this Jeep TJ is over 700 pounds lighter than the new JLs. And why does that matter? That matters to us because we knew that we would be flat towing it behind our RV. I knew that I would be adding mods to it, increasing that weight. So I wanted the lightest weight possible to begin with. I also wanted that smaller size for the trails out here in the Arizona desert. Some of them can be narrow, and it is an older Jeep. I don't mind it getting scratched, but the narrower it is, the less scratch it's going to get, if that makes sense. And because of its short little wheelbase, it's only a little two-door, it handles these Arizona trails really well. I was just out recently with a friend of mine. We were searching for an old mine. We hit a dead end. I know it's Arizona, but kind of just hit a forest of trees, and they didn't want you to go any further. So I had to back down this trail. So I had him jump out of the Jeep and spot me because the trail was steep. We're going downhill steep, off of like a little curve and like a loose rock situation. And I got to the bottom of the hill, making the turn and everything, and he hopped back into the Jeep. He's like, man, you made that look easy. And honestly, it's not me. I swear it's all Jeep. It is all this little TJ. It makes every trail that I've been on extremely easy. I would say that I have very little skill or need very little skill while driving it. If I get into a sticky situation, it's quick, easy to put it in 4 low, and it tackles everything that I throw at it. I am not doing extreme rock climbing or rock crawling, I guess it would be called. It's not the purpose of this Jeep. This Jeep, I have it set up, I have it built for trail riding. I'm not rock crawling with it. I'm not particularly interested in rock crawling with it. I really I'm looking for those historic sites. I want to see something along the trail. I'm trying to get to a certain destination. I really like that reward at the end of the day, something that we found, something that we did that was really cool, that the Jeep was able to get us to. Cost is definitely played a factor in the Jeep TJ as well. Now, I mentioned I could have gone older, so I could have gone with a YJ, which is the era before this one. The issue that I found with those, for me anyway, was that it was very difficult to find a Jeep before the TJ era that had air conditioning. They are out there, but it's difficult to find. One of my must-haves, especially having Arizona as a home base, was air conditioning in the Jeep. It's actually one of the reasons why I quickly stopped looking at side-by-sides and things like that, because it's just, to me, it's too hot. I know side-by-sides are incredibly popular out here, but for me, I want it to be all enclosed with air conditioning. And then, you know, if it's a nice day, I'll pop the top off. So that's how I wound up looking at the TJs. And for the price, I feel that this TJ is your best bang for your buck. So I bought this for $10,000 flat. I think there was a little bit of taxes involved in there, but under $11,000, and it is in incredible condition. There's not a spot of rust on it. The frame is straight. There are no, I would say, major damages on the body or anything like that anywhere. It's got little tiny dings in it, but I felt like I was able to get everything I wanted in this little package for $10,000. I felt was a really good price. Other people might be like, oh, it's a 2001. It's over a 20-year-old vehicle. That's just the way it is with Jeeps. I'll tell you right now, too, like if you're thinking about buying a Jeep and you're worried you're going to make a bad decision, you're going to buy one, they hold their value. You're not going to take a huge loss on it unless you overpay for your Jeep. And that's important to keep in mind, because I was looking at Jeeps that were about $4,000 more than this one and not in the same level of quality or condition that this one is in. I went to go look at some that were at dealerships for like $14,000, $15,000, and I would get in it. You got to be really careful, guys. You got to really look these things over. And, you know, we're on a paved parking lot, but I said to the guy, you know, I want to put it in four-wheel drive, and I just want to coast forward a little bit. I know, you know, you don't want me driving around in four-wheel drive on a hard pavement, but I got to make sure it works. And I couldn't get it in four high. I couldn't get it in four low. Eventually, I got it in four high, and then we couldn't get it back in the two-wheel drive. And like I said, they went at $14,000 for that one, and the AC didn't work in that one. So just look them over, look for rust, look to make sure everything that you're looking for is mechanically, you know, operational. Like I said, they're older vehicles, so you really got to look them over. It took me about a year, which doesn't sound like fun, and it's not fun because you get a lot of duds, unfortunately. Like, I mean, I looked at one that was a little cheaper than this, but it was in rough condition. Went to go start it, didn't start. No big deal. It's probably just a battery. We jump started it. We took it out on the road. It had death wobble, which is a huge issue. You want to make sure that everything is tight with your, I guess you can say, suspension, alignment, your tire, wheel package, everything. This has zero wobble. This has zero vibration in the wheel. Not only did that one have death wobble, we turned around to come back to the guy's house, and the thing stalled out and died on us. He had to have it towed home. So like I said, he felt horrible about it. It was his wife's Jeep. I don't knock him at all. Like I said, he had it at a pretty good price. And even with those issues, it was still a decent Jeep. And I was, for $8,000, I was like, well, could I deal with these things? Could I get these things fixed? I mean, I went into it knowing that no matter what Jeep I was going to buy, I was going to modify a little bit, you know, tune it up a little bit, change things that I wanted to use it for. But I decided to walk away from that deal. And that's what you got to be comfortable with doing. You got to be comfortable with just walking away a lot, especially at dealerships. They're really tough. You know, they're like, oh, we can fix this, we can fix that. I don't want them fixing stuff. I wanted to be right when I get there. So when I found this Jeep, this thing was like, I couldn't believe how great condition it was in for the price at a dealership. Like, you don't expect to find good buys at a dealership, but these guys were great. They're called, I can't remember. I'm going to put it in the video. I'll put it on the screen right here, what the name of the dealership is that I went to. I had a great experience with those guys. I'm not affiliated with them at all. Something else that I wanted for the Jeep TJ was cruise control. It wasn't a must-have, but it was on my list of, you know, like a wish list type of thing. And surprisingly enough, this has cruise control. And I say surprisingly enough because if you know anything about Jeeps, especially this year Jeep, they didn't come with a lot of frills. So whoever had originally ordered this with a lot of nice things. So this does have air conditioning. It does have cruise control. Both of those things work. It also has Dana front and rear axles, which was a must-have for my list. It also has a True Track rear diff, which was a must-have on my list. And that's just a fancy word for a posi rear. So if it was an open diff, the tire of least resistance would get power, and I didn't want that. That meant if one of my wheels were up in the air in the back, that's the tire that would get power, and the wheel that was on the ground wouldn't get anything. So it wasn't easy to find, but I wanted one that had that posi rear so that it would distribute the power almost evenly to those back rear tires, helping me get out of sticky situations again. This also has the 373 gear ratio in the back, and for me, that was also on my must list. I wanted at least a 373, and that's just give me a little bit more torque when I'm off-road, to climb a little hill, to go over a rock, whatever the situation is. But you know what, to be honest, I find your best weapon when tackling something that is maybe a little rough, it's just putting it in 4-low. Putting this in 4-low makes everything easy. I don't know how to explain just how much more confident you feel with this in 4-low. It has tremendous amount of power. That could be because I do have the 4.0 liter engine in this, which was also on my must-have list. The 4.0 engine in these are known to be bulletproof engines, and this thing runs perfectly. Again, I park this in my garage every night, and it has never spilled one drop of anything on the floor. We have a tile floor in our garage, which I know is kind of weird, but so I would see it right away. Again, I think I just got a super deal with this. Some people would say, yeah, but you spent $10,000 on a 20-year vehicle. I know, but I still feel like it was a great deal. The other thing that this had that I wanted was a 5-speed manual transmission. Again, they are just known to be very reliable with the manual transmission. I am a fan of stick shift. I've had many other stick shift vehicles, and I think it just makes the driving experience more fun on and off road. When I'm driving it, I feel like I'm driving it. I don't feel like it's driving me. And then, just going back to that price one more time on the TJ, it is much cheaper to find a TJ than it would be to find a JK or JL. But what really surprised me was that I was able to get this for less than most side-by-sides. I was not expecting that. I didn't realize just how much those side-by-sides were. So depending on how you plan on off-roading and what you're doing will determine how much you want to spend. This is, I would say, kind of slow on the trails compared to a side-by-side. You got independent suspension on those side-by-sides. You can move through terrain at a much faster pace. I'm not in any rush when I'm on the trails. The solid axle does great off-road. Yes, it is a little bumpy, but that's the charm, I would say, of the TJ. But you're also getting solid axles in a JL and a JK, which brings me to maybe some of the downsides to a TJ compared to these newer vehicles that some people will tell you. I honestly don't feel as if the TJ has any downsides, but I will mention some of the things that I have noticed that would be different in this compared to a newer one. One, a lot of people don't tell you that the ride quality in a TJ is worse than a JK. I don't think this is true. I've driven in several JKs, some being 2-door, some being in 4-door. Sabrina has also done the same thing as we were test driving. This is just as comfortable on the road as a JK. I can't speak of a JL. I've only been in the Gladiator when it comes to a JL. So I haven't been in a 2-door. But this compared to a JK, this is, for us anyway, this is the most comfortable riding Jeep Wrangler we've ever had. And it could be because I did change out the shocks. But even before I changed the shocks, we felt it was pretty comfortable. With these Rancho shocks, I feel this is more comfortable than a stock JK. So don't let ride quality sway you away from the TJ. I don't think that's going to be an issue for you. Interior space, that could be an issue for you. I've removed the back seats out of this to open up some more space in the back. And without the back seats in there, I have plenty of room to carry everything I want to do. If we want to go for a little day camp, a picnic, or anything like that, plenty of space with the seats removed. With the seats in there, you are very limited to what you can store. You can always flip the seat up and give you a little bit more space, but it was just easier for me to remove it. If I want to put the seats back in, which I have done, it's about a 10-minute process, and you got your seat back in there again. Noise. I'll give it a down for the noise. It's a Jeep. Like, even the newer ones are going to be loud inside, but this TJ is louder inside than a JK. I can't sugarcoat that in any way. And I have taken the top off. I've replaced seals. I've conditioned seals. No matter what I do, it is loud in the Jeep at highway speeds. You hit 65 miles an hour and it sounds like a window is open. There's no way around that. If that's going to bother you, if noise level on the highway is going to bother you, the TJ is probably not for you. It really doesn't bother me that much. I just got to turn my radio up a little louder, which seems to be the only solution. And that brings me to another downside. Like, if you were to buy a TJ compared to a newer Jeep, the TJs didn't have Bluetooth. So I did replace the radio with just a cheap radio. It does great, and it has Bluetooth capability, so I can connect Alexa to the Jeep radio, and I can listen to music and podcasts inside the Jeep through that. But if you were to purchase a new Jeep, it's going to have that Bluetooth capability. Things like disconnecting sway bars and things like that. So I did do some quick disconnects, they're called, for my sway bar. It takes me 60 seconds to do it, but I do have to get it out of the Jeep to do that. Newer Jeeps, you can now just push a button and it pops that sway bar loose for you. Another thing that somebody would probably say is a downside, I don't think it is, but no power windows, no power locks. Power windows, absolutely, is not a big deal at all. I only have 2 windows that roll down, and I can reach over and roll it down. It's so narrow. So to me, that's not a downside. Power locks would be nice when I walk away from the Jeep. If I just hit a button and all the doors would lock, including the tailgate, that'd be nice. It hasn't been a problem, but it would be nice. If you want power windows, power locks, you're looking at least a JK. You're probably looking at a JK with the Sahara package on it. If that is something that you're looking for, if power windows, power locks is a must for you, TJ, no TJ has it. What about safety? Some people would say, that maybe the TJ is not as safe as the newer ones. I don't think Jeep Wranglers have a legacy of being the safest vehicles on the road. But that being said, I do have 2 front airbags, and that's it. Whereas the new ones would probably have side airbag plus your front airbags. No such luck in a TJ. I don't even have anti-lock brakes in the TJ. Some TJs do have them. They're hard to find. It wasn't on my must-have list. It wasn't even on my wish list. I've driven plenty of vehicles in my lifetime with no anti-lock brakes, and I've always been fine without them. It wasn't a big deal that this did not have them. Honestly, guys, there's not a whole lot of downsides to purchasing the older Jeep if you can find a good one. And that's probably the biggest downside, is finding a good one. It's, like I said, you got to have patience. It took me over a year to find everything that I wanted. And honestly, I didn't get everything I wanted because I really wanted it to be green. The blue has grown on me, and I love the blue now. But I was shopping for a green one. I just couldn't find one. I couldn't find one with everything I wanted and in good shape. And that's just what you're going to find when you're shopping for a 20-year-old vehicle. It's just the facts. So there are all the downsides that someone could say it has. Again, I don't really agree with all them being downsides. I think it's kind of just is what it is. But, if you're looking at this video as a shopping guide and what to expect when shopping for a Jeep Wrangler throughout the different years, then I think it's just important to know some of these facts. Now, what if AC wasn't a current concern for you? If AC wasn't a concern for me, I would have went with the era before this, the YJ. They do have the square headlights, which people say are not as iconic. They're just headlights. To me, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I do like the front of this with the round headlights, but I was seriously looking at those YJs. The suspension in the YJ, I believe, is not as comfortable as the TJ, so you will lose a little comfort. YJ uses a leaf spring system in the front, and it does make it a little stiffer ride than what this has. Well, that's my review on my Jeep TJ Wrangler. If you own a Jeep Wrangler, or if you're shopping for a Jeep Wrangler, I'd love to know which one you have or which one you're looking for and why. If you own one, what have you found to be the downsides, or what do people tell you are the downsides for a Jeep Wrangler? What did I miss? If you are shopping for a Jeep Wrangler, you know, like I said, take your time, but at the same time, be diligent. I'm telling you, you're going to have a blast in it. It is so fun to drive, and it's fun to wave at everybody. Sabrina said that she wishes she had a Jeep Wrangler just so people would wave to her in other Jeep Wranglers. All right, everybody, take care. Safe travels. I will catch you next time. If you see me on the road, give me a wave. You don't even have to be in a Jeep. I'll wave back.